I became a better marriage mentor when I started to understand the interplay between thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So, mentors, this is really a core concept to be able to get that's going to make you a better mentor. Um, it's going to help you to be able to break down particular incidences and what to do when you're working with a specific couple. And it's going to help you to understand more questions to ask. So let's get into this a bit more. First, there's our thoughts. Our thoughts influence our feelings and our behaviors. So if you dwell on the thought, this is so unfair, then that will lead you to one particular behavior that might not build up your bond. Rather, it might tear it down. But if you have the thought in your head of, you know what, I think we can work this out, that will lead you to probably a healthier behavior that will help you to build up your marriage bond. After thoughts, there's feelings. And telling yourself to feel differently probably isn't going to work. Your feelings follow your thoughts and behaviors, and they are usually the last to change. So if you work on changing your thoughts and your behaviors, the feelings will usually follow. But now there's our behaviors, and your behaviors, how you behave and how you react, are your choice. Even if you're feeling angry or scared, you can choose how you react. For example, treat your spouse well, even when you don't feel like it. That is making a choice. So behaving in a loving or gracious way can influence your thoughts and eventually your feelings. So how they all come together. Our thoughts, our behaviors, and our feelings, they all come together to capture how we react in a certain situation. And that reaction is a combination of those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So let me give you an example. Let's say my wife, Michelle, leaves a wet towel on the floor. So if I'm thinking, hey, I don't exist just to pick up your towel, I'll feel angry and irritated. So I might, take the towel and go throw it at her and say, you're such a slob. Why don't you pick up your towel? It's likely in that case that my negative thoughts and my negative feelings followed by my behavior are going to perpetuate themselves. And they'll go round and round in my head, and I'll get locked into a certain set of behaviors. I'm not saying you should dismiss your feelings, and it's tough to choose your feelings, but you can choose your thoughts and your behaviors. So in this case, I could choose to think that, I don't think that she's intentionally trying to irritate me or to make me, her servant. She must have just been in a hurry and just accidentally left it on the floor. Now, if I think that, my talking to her is going to come out in a much different way. And we could talk about, the fact that the towel was on the floor and what we could do about it. And that's been influenced by my thoughts. Okay, so how does this work for mentors? Let's say you meet with a couple and they come to your meeting and they talk about a big blowout fight that they had. And maybe it was like the one that I outlined for you. So you could start by exploring what are their thoughts and their emotions below the behavior. So we'll start by asking these questions, well, what was the behavior? Okay, what were you feeling at that time? And, what thought or assumption do you think prompted it? So it might be, in this case, the behavior is that I criticize and I threw the towel. Well, my feeling is that I'm irritated and angry. And my thought, if I can identify it, might be that she's taking advantage of me. And that's assuming a poor intent. So once you've identified it as a mentor, you can go in a couple different paths. So one, we will probe into the thought. And, is a thought assumption something that is underneath your behavior? What was that? Is there a poor assumption? Like in this case, did I assume that she just, meant to take advantage of me? Or is it just that she was in a hurry and she didn't mean poor intent? And sometimes our thoughts and what we're thinking are not really accurate. And not really what's happening there. But behaviors, is there a different behavior that you could choose? Instead of being critical and throwing the towel, even though I'm angry, could I have done something else? Like like just to cool off, and then sat down and talked about how I didn't appreciate it when she left her towel on the floor. That might have been a healthier behavior. And then we'll work with couples and have them validate each other. And both sides will validate what are their thoughts and their feelings to try to come to a better understanding. So 3 tips for mentors. Use this framework: thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And you can use that to question it and to question what's underneath all of them. But identify the thoughts. And honestly, this can sometimes be tough to do. It's tough to know what our assumptions are. But if you can help couples to be able to do that, it can help them to get a more accurate picture of what it is that they're really thinking and why they behave that way. And then focus on validation and allow both partners to validate each other. So those 3 tips again: use a framework of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Identify the thought and the assumptions under the thought if you can, and then focus on validation.